All right, guys. We're going to be reacting to Jan Scholten again. And this is the fourth part of the interview with him. And he's talking about, in this section, he's talking about science and reality. So it's not really about homeopathy, but his cosmological thoughts. And I thought I would review this because even though I disagree with him on homeopathy, I think he is a very intelligent person. And yeah, I think it's fun to react to his thoughts. So let's get into it. But by the way, make sure you like and subscribe. All right. Um, I'm getting 0 views on Odyssey, so you're not gonna. Yeah, you're not watching this on Odyssey. So, but if you're on YouTube, there's a little thumbs up. Can you please hit that? Because as far as I know, that's the only way to get ahead in the algorithm. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this, but all right. Let's see. Let's get into this.
So based on your entire experience with homeopathy, what can you say about your metaphysical beliefs or views?
For me, science means trying to know the world. And that's for me both the outside world and the inner world. There's no limit for me that I want to understand. I want to understand everything. I want to understand myself. The beauty of homeopathy for me is that I learn a lot about myself, because what I see in my patients, I have more or less myself too. I've discovered a lot about how I work, because I see those series and stages and phases also in my side of myself.
Yeah, that is a thing that exists. So, of course, if you study the human body, the human psyche, uh, by studying homeopathy, you are gonna actually gain an insight into the inner workings and processes, and you will understand yourself better. That is absolutely correct.
Where it all comes from, that's a question. But I think Buddhism is basically, they often call it a religion, but that's not true. Buddhism is a science of discovering yourself. And you do it with meditation and going inside. Because it's so important to know who you are, because that's the starting point of all experience. If you don't know who you are, you don't know what your experience is. You're always in question. So, and that's what science is, trying to go to the core, to the essence. And you see that also in physics. Yeah? There they want to make or discover the universal law that covers everything,
Right.
the one and only point.
And yet that law somehow excludes consciousness and the inner world entirely, right?
That's why they can't find it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they exclude something, and then they want to have everything. That
Yeah, we are aware of this. I think modern science is takes a completely materialistic philosophical worldview, and it's quite pathetic, right?
is impossible.
Right.
And the basic advantage is that we take the inner world for serious. In a lot of the sciences that we have, and also in medicine, the mind is just an extraction of the brain or something, whatever, which is ridiculous in a way. When you really think about it, even those people who say it don't believe it for themselves. But
No, I think there are many people who believe it. That consciousness is nothing else but just the atoms bouncing around in your brain, and there's nothing else apart from matter. Nothing else exists. I think there are many people who actually believe that. Um, while at the top, I think, there might be people who know that it's wrong, but they are pushing this idea on modern society for various reasons, which we are not going to get into.
Limits science so much, and in homeopathy we not limit to it. We take it seriously, and that's a big advantage, because then we have a whole new world that you can use, and I think that's a very important world for the living creatures. To limit yourself to matter is good for physics and chemistry, but not for medicine or biology.
Right. And then you're getting a science of spirit.
Yeah. The spirit is a very essential part of living creatures.
Right. But even beyond that, this spirit underlies the physical universe as well, according to what we're seeing.
The pattern is the same.
Your claim that the evolutionary tree of the plant kingdom branches out in a mineral-like way is quite astounding and perhaps paradigm-shifting, because it claims that there is a fundamental, if you will, energetic or spiritual relationship that ties together the mineral kingdom and the plant kingdom, that they're not separate creations, so to speak. And also, something else that it may suggest is that somehow, even though the evolution of the plants is seemingly an open-ended, contingent event, actually, you may be suggesting, or the theory may be implying, that somehow the plants filled out pre-existing niches of nature, what's called the principle of plenitude, that somehow all the potentialities of existence actually get filled out by evolved beings or substances or plants. So can you talk a bit about this?
How I see it is that it's not for nothing, it's not only accidental what creation is doing. Of course, it's open-ended in a way, because it can also create varieties of varieties. There's some open-endedness in it, but there is a basic background in it which is not...
Obviously, if you are a homeopath and you deal with non-material things all the time, you're not going to be a believer in evolution and the doctrine that everything is a coincidence. The development of everything is a coincidence. Or, of course, evolutionists are going to be triggered right now, but then they're saying that it's not a coincidence, that it's the environment was forcing everything to change. Okay, so then it's the environment, whatever you want to say. So basically, there's no consciousness. It's just the environment was pushing everything to change. You're not going to believe in that.
Completely free, which uses basic patterns which are already laid down. And those are giving the essences of where the plants stand for. So, and that's why there is a similarity with the mineral kingdom and in the plant kingdom. And I think in the animal kingdom you will find it more or less the same, in a different form, because animals are different. But I think that you can do a classification of the animal kingdom also with series, stages, and phases, and maybe you need something else too, but I don't know yet.
But are you suggesting that...
I don't think you should. So you shouldn't do a classification of the animal kingdom. Just stick to classical homeopathy and maybe do some research on polishing aspects of classical homeopathy which need to be polished. Okay? Like, for example, what to do with difficult patients, how to find small remedies in cases where there's a small remedy indicated, things like that. Okay, just do research on normal things, please.
the plants almost knew, so to speak, that there are phases out there in nature that they had to fill out. In other words, that the open-endedness somehow still follows a certain
There's a
matrix? Or?
Yeah, there's a matrix. You know, even when we never know about gravity, we still follow it. When we fall down, even if we have never discovered gravity. You know, there are basic patterns that...
Well, the flat earthers might disagree with you on that. Just kidding.
are there, they are laid out. That's what creation is doing. It's not, there is a pattern in it, it's logical. I believe in the logic of creation. The beauty of it is when you look at a classification like APG or the other ones, there is no value connected to it, there is no sense connected to it. But with series, stages and phases, it all makes sense. There is a meaning in it. And that brings it to a different level of understanding.
So what do you make of the fact that human disease states somehow correspond with states of various substances in the universe?
So that is a really, really good question. I forgot this guy's name, but that is one of the questions that's the most intriguing in homeopathic theory. And I've wondered that myself for a long time. Why is that? Let's see the answer.
In other words, we somehow resonate with various things, whether or not we have it physically in our body. So what's going on with that?
That's a good question. When you really think about it, we are connected intuitively with everything. And so when you feel a plant or see a plant, then you will know from resonance that it will be something that has to do with you too.
But how come we have disease states that correspond to something? How come it can't be just a disease state that does not correspond to any substance?
Yeah. So you didn't really answer the question, but it's not like that. I would be able to answer that question flawlessly. So I'm not knocking Jan Scholten here. So it's a difficult question. It's a very interesting and difficult question. So let's see. Let's hear the second part of the answer.
Because we have certain patterns, you know, it's not a plant, it's a pattern of the way of living. And we can get into all kinds of states if we have the possibility. And that are just patterns, the ways of being. And they are also there in nature. And the plant refers to that too. So we don't refer to the plant, we refer to the pattern.
The underlying pattern always.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good attempt. I'm not sure it's totally satisfactory, and but it's a good try. I think the answer might be something like that. So why do the symptom pictures of human beings basically arrange themselves into patterns which correspond to random plant, mineral, all kinds of substances. The symptoms of random substances when taken by a person. So, very, very interesting question.
And that whole idea of creation, of coming into life and dying again, at certain levels, is the basic pattern of, when you really think about it, what is there more? Nothing. Things come and go in different forms, different levels, but they come and go, and that's always going on. And the cycles can be long or short or whatever.
reminiscent of
Yeah.
Eastern philosophies almost, and somehow ties together.
The whole idea of philosophy that it's just a speculation is not true. In Eastern philosophy, it's not philosophy in the sense that how we use it in the Western philosophy. Here it's more or less speculation, whereas in Eastern philosophy is experiencing how the inner world is.
Right.
And that's not philosophy, that's science.
Right. So we're comparing Eastern science and Western science, if you will.
Yeah. So it's the science of the inner world, whereas we have the science of the outer world, and they're both good.
Right.
And better is the combination.
So where do you think historically does the break away from the inner world? When did it take place? Under what circumstances?
That's a good question. No, it took place 1 or 2 centuries ago in our Western culture, because in the mainstream of the rest of the world, it's still not accepted, and even most people don't believe in it. You know, most people are very spiritually oriented and very intuitive.
Okay, but it has roots that go away.
Yeah, it took place very recently. It took place during the beginning of the 20th century, maybe. And then that's when the transformation started. And then it finished by basically the end of World War II, stuff like that. But basically, they instituted the materialistic science religion in Asian countries as well. So if you go to Asia, you will find that most people believe in the nonsense materialistic cosmology, which was instituted also in the West. So it's the same thing. And yeah, a lot of people are spiritual, I guess. But you know, if you talk to 9 out of 10 people, you tell them, gun to your head, is your mind just the functioning of the brain and the molecules in there? And they will say yes. So anyway,
way beyond farther back than science.
The estrangement comes from making big religions, and the big religions are connected to power. And because they are connected to power, they start to distort the reality of how it really is, what real religion is. They use religion to install their power by making people fearful for hell or...
yeah, I also agree with this. So I agree on a lot of things with Jan, actually. Yeah, religion has been used as a tool for power, tool of power. I don't know much about Buddhism, but Christianity definitely. Islam definitely.
pains or punishment and afterlife, etc.
But why does that require estrangement from the inner world, specifically?
Because that's what they want to do, because that makes you weak.
Okay.
It makes you dependent, because you're dependent on God, and God is not your God, it's their God.
Whereas a person...
Very based, yes, Jan. Kudos to Jan. I think he's right. It's their God, and you're going to be a slave to him.
Connected to
the spiritual world.
Themselves is connected and strong.
Yeah. So in a way, the material scientific revolution was in one way a good thing. In the sense of taking back the power and trying to find reality. But then what they do, they threw away the whole inner world.
Just to simplify things and
but it's a kind of dogmatism which is, I don't know if it's worse, but probably it's needed for evolution. And in a way, where it has to go with humanity is that we become one humanity, like one big organism. And that means to come to that, we need cooperation. So that's the transition that we have to go to.
Right.
And it has to do also with the Lanternite.
We want to become one big organism. I'm not sure about that. Uh, I'm not sure. I'll think about it.
Quality of in the meta quality, you see humanity as one.
So the next step is some sort of synthesis, reintroduction of the inner world.
Yeah. In a way, it's also beginning, like a lot of people in the Western world are following meditation, mindfulness, Buddhism, etc. So it's already filtering in. But the mainstream is still not there.
Right.
Because people feel there is something.
It's not that it's not there. There's no progression. The mainstream narrative is being controlled, controlled from the top down, and that's it. So sorry to say that.
That Rupert Sheldrake, for instance, has done a lot of research on this, on intuition, etc. And the majority of people have spiritual experiences, more than 80-90% in the form of intuition, or telepathy, or contact with dead people, in all kinds of forms. So it's very common. It's only denied. And of course they say, oh, it's just fantasy. But he has done experiments to show it's not fantasy, it's statistically proven. And even that is denied. There's a man, Radin, who has done meta-analysis of all those kinds of researches. And then you get probability of 1 in a trillion of a trillion.
Of all of those being
that is
incorrect.
So scientifically it's proven without any doubt.
But yet it's rejected again.
That's still rejected. And it's very strange.
Yeah. I agree.
It's very unscientific. It's wonderful to look at how we can have certain kind of states that we get into and get fixed into. For instance, you have 2 children in the same family, and the one is his whole life in problems with the father, and the other one has no problem with it. So there is something peculiar. It's not only the father who does it, it's also the person who does it. It's the combination of the two. But then children who are born with an inherited disease, and that's the idea of that children are born innocent, without a blank. And that's something of our culture, because you're born materially, so you're blank.
Right.
But every mother and every father knows that when they have a few children, they are born with their own state. So it's not true. So the experience of people is not acknowledged.
Right.
And that's because it's excluded, that kind of way of thinking, because it doesn't fit our paradigm. And that's a strange way of looking at life.
So what is it that a person who is born with a serious disease, what is that person supposed to experience, or why is that happening? Can't we just look at it as an accident of genetics, for example, sort of a natural inadequacy in the mechanism of life?
But the problem is, when you call it an accident, you behave as if you have an explanation, but you say, I don't know.
Well, they might say that it's random.
Yeah, but that's no explanation. That's what I'm saying. Random means it's not explained. It can be that it's not random, but once you don't know what is in the background, you see things as random. Not understanding makes things random.
Okay, so you have, it seems...
Very good, Jan. I have to give it to Jan. He's very on point on some things. So saying things are random, things are genetic, that's what materialistic Western medicine does all the time. Everything is an accident, everything is a coincidence. It's not just medicine, all the sciences do that. Everything is a coincidence. And yeah, that is not an explanation. That is that's just not an explanation. And it's not what is actually going on. They just don't understand, or they want to hide the truth, right? Those are the 2 possibilities. There are people at the top who want to hide the truth, or the people below the very tippity top, they, as you go below the top controllers, I think they just don't understand, right? So they just have no idea what's going on, and then they say, it's a coincidence.
To me, that you have an underlying belief that or faith, I guess, that there is an order to the universe that's complete, meaning that there is no, almost in a sense, no room for random events.
Well, there is room for random events, but not completely random. I think, especially those kind of things that are very prominent have meaning. Mm-hmm. And I think the meaning is that you have to learn from it. But how and when and why, that can be so different for everyone.
Right.
The problem is with random, you never know if it's really random or not. For instance, there's a nice experiment done. Normally the decay rate of atoms, of radioactive atoms, is fixed. Half lifetime is 2 years or 2 minutes or 2 seconds,
and
or whatever.
It's considered a random event within that
It's a very
framework.
random event.
Yeah.
But they've done experiments where someone who was psychic, strong, or was known for it, was influencing it. Mm-hmm. And he could diminish it or increase it with 10 or 20 or 30%. Mm-hmm. So what's random?
Yeah, if it's subject to outside influence, then...
And of course, a lot of people say, oh, but that's fake. They won't even look at it, but they've measured it.
Yeah, the whole parapsychological world is fascinating.
But the weird thing is that in physics, they know that consciousness influences the experiment. Mm-hmm. That's what he's showing.
Right. But they're not willing to go that far.
But it's assumed as completely random.
Mm-hmm.
But in experiment, it's not. It's not completely random. You can influence it. Mm-hmm. So that means that there is something happening that we don't understand in our science.
Well, Jan, thank you very, very much for...
All right, thank you very, very much. That was very interesting. That was a great video, even though I don't agree on some things with Jan. And so this YouTube channel is for expressing my thoughts on homeopathy and other things, but also I do want to spread the word on a service that I provide. Of course, I do provide homeopathic consultation. So you can get in touch with me. I have all the contact options in my channel description. And if you want to get a consultation, if you do get a consultation with me, you're going to get a proper classical homeopathic consultation. And I don't use any nonsense. I stick to classical literature. I stick to scientific principles. So you know what you're getting. Also, you can look up my qualifications, which I can present to you if you get in touch. And those are also very good. I didn't just graduate from a some kind of unknown school or something. Okay, whatever. So thanks for watching.